I'm Paul Mancano, and today's show is brought to you by the LifeBridge Health Sports Medicine Institute, now open at Foundry Row in Owings Mills.
It's a lot like building a house. I think it's easier if you demolish the house and build it with a good foundation from the ground up, rather than renovating it one room at a time.
Over the past month, Dan Duquette and the Orioles front office put on their hard hats and took a wrecking ball to the O's roster. They made it clear they're building this thing from scratch, and they want their farm system to be the foundation of a sturdy house. But just how sturdy is that foundation? We're going to open up the plans and take a look at the Orioles blueprint. Now obviously prospects are just one component of team building. You also have trades and free agency, but you can't really predict those years down the line. What you can predict is which prospects might fill out the roster in the coming seasons. For the sake of this segment, we're going to assume that most of these guys stay in the farm system and develop into the major league players they're expected to be. Huge leap of faith, I know, but just bear with me. Now, the outfield is possibly the deepest spot in the Orioles farm system. Austin Hays was the first of the O's top outfield prospects to hit the bigs when he got his feet wet last September. And last week, Cedric Mullins got the call. Now, Mullins definitely has the speed and defensive range to fill in at center, so we're going to slot him in right there. Hays, meanwhile, has mostly played in right, but we're going to stick him in left. Why? Because the O's top prospect, Yasniel Diaz, is a perfect fit in right field. Mark Diaz in with pen, not pencil. Now, if one or more of these outfield prospects don't pan out, the O's have a few fringe prospects, like 21-year-old Ryan McKenna and former first-round pick DJ Stewart, as backup plans. Now, the glut of outfield prospects is going to help Trey Mancini shift back to his natural position at first base. And Chris Davis is hardly an ideal designated hitter at this point in his career, but it's going to be tough for the Orioles to move his contract in the next few years. Now, the Manny Machado and Jonathan Scope trades blew out the walls on the Orioles infield, but the good news is they have the raw materials to build it back up. Ryan Mountcastle is the most seasoned infield prospect in the system right now. He's just 21, but could be a regular in the O's lineup as soon as next season. You may remember Caden Grenier is the slick-fielding shortstop the Orioles took in the second round of this year's draft. Gene Carmona and Giancarlos Encarnacion were both picked up at the deadline. Both are youngsters with high ceilings. Now, second base might be the only position that won't need a renovation in the next few years. The O's got speedster Jonathan Villar from the Brewers. He's still 3 years away from 30, and he's the closest thing Buck Showalter has had to a leadoff hitter in what feels like ages. Now, Chance Sisco is really the only prospect the Orioles have behind the plate. He's bounced back and forth between Norfolk and Baltimore this season, but he's still only 23. Now, pitchers, they're harder to predict, but the O's have gotten a lot deeper on the mound in the minors lately. Dylan Bundy appears to be here to stay. Beyond that, D.L. Hall and Grayson Rodriguez are still several years away, but they've lived up to their first-round hype so far. Newcomers like Dylan Tate, Luis Ortiz, Blaine Knight, and Dean Kramer all have starter potential. Then there's Hunter Harvey, but the O's may have to scrap him from their plans if he can't stay healthy. Now look, the best laid plans often go awry, but you have to have a plan before you can actually carry it out. And finally, the Orioles have one. Now let's see how closely they stick to it. This was brought to you by the LifeBridge Health Sports Medicine Institute, now open at Foundry Row in Owings Mills.